Yes.
Yes, we continue on.
Okay.
From Rehab to Life.
Foundation
podcast. Live podcast and workshop.
Absolutely, with mental health solutions to drug and alcohol addiction, violence and crime, and homelessness.
Mm-hmm. So we wanted to continue on from where we left off last week, which was your journey.
Yeah.
And we was around about 33, 34, 35 kind of area.
Mm-hmm.
Where you had, where was we at the time? Where you just, was that the restaurant time?
The restaurant,
Was it just like
that's just after.
Just after. So what were we at? So 33, where was we?
Yes, 33. Yes, I was married at the age of 33.
That's
and,
right.
Yeah, I kind of finished with the restaurant when I was about 31 or 32 or something like that.
Yeah. So 33, you married. Yeah, what number of children was you?
Well, by then, I had how many children? I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 kids by then, yeah. And you was living in?
I was living, well, at the age of 33, I moved from Stoke Newington and was living in Crouch End.
Crouch End.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this is where it was, yeah. So, what kind of group of friends did you have at that time?
Well, my friends were basically criminals, really.
Yeah.
I knew the odd person who went to work and so on. But, basically, my circle was a circle of criminals.
Yeah.
Some of them would rather call themselves gangsters.
Yeah.
You know, career criminals, just, that's what we did to make our living, whatever it was.
Yeah. what was the routine of someone that was within your circle? Was it, was there a lot of partying? Was there the regular routine of that kind of circle?
Well, the regular routine, it was like a party every day, basically, you know, it was always, smoking ganja or, although I don't really refer to ganja as just a party thing, really, because for me, ganja is a spiritual, and so medicinal and so on. I understood it as that. And even before that, with the Rastafarians and so on, going back to my 20s, when I smoked ganja, it was, we read the Bible and we chanted the Psalms and we reasoned about God, our Creator, and about life and, positive reasoning, about love and peace and, and moving forward and upward, and giving the other glory.
So was there good elements about that circle, or was it all just criminal and?
Well, the elements in that circle, it was, there was a lighter side to it, but all the same, even when you had a little joke and all the rest of it, we all knew there was a dark side right next to it. Like a man could say, having a laugh, and the next thing you know, a man's had his face cut, or he's been juked with a knife, or he got shot. You know what I'm saying? So really, that world there, some people would say, they ain't got no friends. You know what I'm saying? Because, when you kind of get friendly, it's a sign of weakness, taken as a weakness.
Of course.
And so on and so forth. However, as a Rastafarian and, we're dealing with peace and love, you'd think that would be, it's more acceptable to be, friendly and so on and so forth. But even there, people would take liberties, when you show brotherly love and so on. And suddenly, you might give them a pound or 10 pound of ganja or whatever. And because you were so nice, they probably don't want to pay you back. You never see them again. You have to go looking for them. All that sort of nonsense. So really in that world, one had to keep a balance, you know.
Of course.
Maybe just keep your jokes in that side of life, and the lighter side of life around with your family and a smaller inner circle.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I mean, an inner circle where I know that if I got drunk or something like that, I'd be protected because I've got
of course,
the boys around me, the men around me to make sure I get home
safely. Yeah, of course.
So on, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you think drew those kind of circles together then, in that case?
Well, the criminal circle, we all had one thing in common, which was to get rich quick and earn more money than we would do in a 9-to-5 environment. And also, we just like to do our own thing. We don't like to be told what to do, and so on. And also, there's the attraction of it as well, sort of, how could you, rebelling against society, rebelling against tradition, rebelling against the establishment, you know, and so on. And it was like sticking a finger up at, racism and the oppression and the prejudice. And so, especially as a black man, you know, you think, well, why should I go and work for the slave master's children?
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? They don't love me. Better I try find my own way, take my chances, and which means I might end up in jail, but, you know, consciously take that route because I don't want to be a part of this system.
100%.
You know, 100%. So there was all that involved in it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously some people were just influenced by their friends and the money, and they just, you know, and they just slipped in just in that vein. But the mentality, like I said, it was one of rebellion against the establishment. I do what I want, when I want, with who I want. You ain't telling me what to do.
Of course.
And all that sort of thing. And I'm making good money, thank you very much.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. So you feel like even more so you can't tell me what to do. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So what kind of places did you gather in? Domino houses and things like that?
No, well, I didn't really hang around domino houses, or we call them gambling dens. I didn't really hang around it. I'd only maybe pass through and to see someone or something like that, and just briefly pass through. But no, I wouldn't stop or anything like that. Because gambling is not something I really enjoyed partaking in, to be honest with you, because if you won my money, I want it back. So it's not really, you know.
He's a man.
I remember going into, what do you call it, one of those betting shops, and, you know, put on a bet or something, and lost my money. I felt like going over the counter and taking my money back. You know, I really, I really had to hold myself down from doing that kind of thing. So I knew gambling was not for me, so I didn't hang around those places.
Yeah, good. And how did that influence your addiction, your circles?
Well, my circles, it influenced my addiction in the sense that I was just hanging around with a certain part of the circle who suddenly they were snorting coke and then went on to smoking crack, and I wasn't, and I was just smoking ganja.
Yeah.
I wasn't even drinking alcohol at the time, and and the fact is that because I kept in contact with that aspect of the circle who snorted and smoked crack and snorted coke on a daily and nightly basis, eventually it got to me. I must have refused, I don't know, 100 times, 200 times, I don't know how many times. And then suddenly, you know, I said, okay, I'll just have a line, and all that.
You're saying that someone gave you the pipe and
yes, and the pipe, and then the pipe came along after that. That's where I was refusing that. So I'll just stick to the line, and I stick to the line and smoke some spliffs. But then suddenly, you say, oh, it's wasting, it's going, blah, 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 blah. Which was really silly, really, when I look back at it. But, it's wasting, it's all right then. And I sucked up that poison, and that was it. I drifted into the twilight zone.
So that same circle that was doing it, do you feel like a lot of people use those kind of drugs to escape the trauma that they've been through and the trauma that they cause?
Yes, although some of them will not admit it, or most of them won't admit it, but in that circuit there's a lot of fear, fear of being murdered, or fear of having to go to commit murder, fear of going to jail, fear of who is an informer or who is not, and so on and so forth. There's fear that, of keeping certain things classified, or just within a certain circle. Yes, there's just, it's permeated with fear. Fear just runs through it. And of course, a lot of us criminals, we've got trauma from the past to deal with and so on. I didn't realize at the time so much, but later on in life I got to find out, and you went through that, you had to sleep outside in the cold, your parents, just threw you out and all that kind of thing, and let you back in the morning for breakfast and all that. I said, man.
So the trauma definitely has a lot to do with.
The trauma definitely.
People causing trauma.
Absolutely.
And causing more trauma to themselves. So what made it excel at that point? Like, what made it go from strength to strength?
Well, the addiction. Well, at first one didn't think it was an addiction because I can handle this, I can stop anytime I like. I've got no intention of stopping at the moment. So, but when I'm ready to stop, I'll stop. And if you repeat that question again that you said.
What made it go from strength to strength?
What did make it go from strength to strength? Well, that attitude alone made it go from strength to strength.
Just not believing you was an addict.
Just not believing that I'm addicted, although I'm doing it every day. And, really look forward to doing it and get it sometimes excited, about doing it and all that. Or even just thinking about it and having euphoric recalls of seeing that crack pipe, filled with with smoke that is thick like a cloud, milky bottle, and wow, suddenly, boy, I gotta go and get some of that, make it real, make it happen.
Of course,
or it could be just when we were doing the lines, it could just be that glistening coke, and to have some of them that had the shades of pink in it and shades of lemon in there, and glistening and like pearls, like crushed up pearls and all that, that could give you, that gave me a euphoric recall that, man, let me just get the thing out and just have a few lines. And so on and so on. Going from strength to strength, it's just that sticking with that company who said, they're not stopping, and I realized that there was the people who just stuck to ganja. They were on one side and they were criticizing us who were doing coke and all that sort of thing. It was very new in our circle at the time, and so basically the mentality was, well, us, the coke circle, we've got to keep together.
Of course.
And so on and so forth. Don't let these guys get us down.
Yeah,
you know.
But you always see that the guys that was taking the harder drugs were a bit more in the streets. So am I wrong? Right to say that? They were a bit more the set of people to worry about in certain circumstances.
The ones on the street, you mean like frontline?
Yeah, the ones that were ready to kind of attack, rob, everything, you know what I'm saying? So I know that the ganja people might not be as you know, like as how can I say, in the best way possible.
They're not as dishonest and so on, and not so greedy and so jealous or whatever, envious and so on. And well, the thing is, at the time, I wasn't really aware of the dangers of cocaine and crack. I was aware that it's, you know, it eats up your vitamin C, so make sure you take a lot of vitamin C. You know, I was aware that, oh yes, it's a fantasy drug, so don't get carried away. And but I wasn't aware that someone would be quite willing to kill you over, you know, for an ounce of coke, or for even less than that.
Yeah, of course.
You know, for even a 20-pound worth of crack. To tell you the truth, I know someone who actually is probably freed now from prison, but he was doing a life sentence for murdering a brother for 10 pounds worth of crack.
Wow.
Because he wanted to smoke it by himself. I know another guy, another brother is a yardie. He confessed to me shamefully and, you know, and humbly and timidly, but he did confess to me that, you know, he was smoking with his friends and there was just one last bit of crack left, and he just pulled out his gun and said, nobody touches this, is mine. You know, if you touch it, I'll kill you. You know what I'm saying? And everybody walked away and left him to it. So he smoked it in disgrace, you know, and you know, and abandoned by his brothers, and he felt so terrible afterwards. That experience actually was the best thing that ever happened to him. Because he stopped immediately and never returned to smoking crack again.
You see that?
So that was a big blessing in disguise.
Massive. Takes big things sometimes to happen for a shift. So, could you remember any bad experiences around it, being in that?
Well, the sort of bad experiences I first experienced was people stealing your coke and your crack and all that. You'd have it out there for everybody, and suddenly, you know, the thing is, you know, if you got 1,000 pounds worth on the table, you know, that can last us through the night. And then, you know, if you find that suddenly, you know, I've only had a couple pipes and it's only a quarter ounce left, or something like that. What's going on here, you know? And so there was this stealing going on, you know, you know, it made some people so greedy and so selfish.
Of course.
And even more immoral. You know, it made some people less spiritual. You know, started to eat away at our spirituality. You know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Did any ever fight any fights over? This is like. Did you ever experience any?
Well, I mean, yes. Well, to tell you the truth, I mean, I used to experience things where I've had to maybe slap a guy in the face because, you know, they sort of showing me disrespect. And so on and so forth. You know, but I mean, I never really fought over cocaine.
No, did you experience, just even if it wasn't you, was you ever in the crack, like a place where people were taking crack and watch people even have any altercations around you?
Well, personally, no, I never.
So it's not always that's not always there. You can't. There are people that have groups that kind of.
But then again, I'll tell you something else. I just recalled something which was actually in a crack house where, people got rubbed in there, and all the rest of it got roughed up and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Yes.
You ever see anyone overdose?
No, but I've heard stories about them overdosing, people who moved around in our circles. I'd hear that this one has died.
Yeah.
This one went to hospital, died in hospital. And this one here, I've heard people being murdered as well, being stabbed. But I wasn't there actually. That's an altercation. I don't know whether it was over crack or if it was over arguing over a partner, and all that sort of thing. But yes, there were altercations, but considering the amount of years that I was at it, or a few decades at least, that was rare, really.
Yeah, rare, yeah. So people just wanted to get together and really just get high. That was the main objective.
Just escape from reality, and so on and so forth. And one would get nasty to go and get the money to get it if one had to, out there and do some violent things or, very devious and cunning and dishonest stuff.
It's part of why people kept circles. Is like they kept each other going. Like when he hasn't got it, that person's got it. When she hasn't got it, that person's got it. Was it like that?
It was like that to an extent. To an extent, but to tell you the truth, I found the coke and when we all had money and all that, it was like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but. So I experienced it like that. We all had money, so that was no object. So if I didn't have anything, I could go around there and say, "Give me some coke," and so on and so forth.
That's it.
But then the lower down the scale, where there's no money, where people are scrimping and scraping, then that's a different thing there.
Different place.
People are robbing each other and getting violent with each other.
But that's the difference between coke and crack as well. It's like coke is like more for people that actually got the money.
Yeah.
Even till this day, it's more for people that got decent jobs and things like that.
Yeah.
Those are the people that take it, and you can even keep up that habit.
Yes. Some can, some can't. You got the functioning addict and you've got the non-functioning addict.
Exactly. But the crack seems to be that. Crack still has people that you wouldn't think take it, but it also has a quite like the lower class of people that take it also because it's accessible. The price is accessible. Not accessible. They still have to do whatever they have to do to get it, but it's not like coke, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes, well, I wouldn't even call them lower class. I would say they're just poorer people.
That's what I mean, And the higher class take
and they're doing anything to get it. Poorer people turn to Batman, to get it. People lose their values in these ways. Women turn to lesbians, men turn to homosexuals.
Did you witness people doing that?
I wouldn't say I witnessed, but I heard a lot of things that's going on. I get to find out about stuff that people be keeping in their cupboard, in the closet.
Just for the money of it,
Yeah, just to keep up the habit, suddenly their sexual orientations changed. Yeah.
So now you're about 35, say 35. Heading towards your 40s. So what was things like at the time?
Well, for me, I come to a stage where I wanted to stop, but somehow I couldn't stop, but I didn't take it too seriously, and still believing that I could stop, I did notice though that as over 35, 36, let me see, 37, I mean, after I left my marital home where I suppose I'd have been 37 going on 38.
And you left, was that you split up with your wife?
Yeah.
Yeah. But what was the breaking point of your marriage?
Well, the breaking point, quite simply, was I realized that, my wife basically, or the woman I married, put it that way, she wasn't in love with me, she was in love with someone else. I mean, it was a rushed affair, and so on and so forth. Married her within 6 weeks. I thought, well, I'd stick with this woman, I'll marry her. I was desperate to stop smoking crack and taking coke, and she didn't take it, and she didn't drink alcohol. So these reasons alone were powerful reasons that in my desperate state, I go, yeah, I'll marry you, but I wasn't with her long enough to know that she didn't love me. She was really in love with another man, and in fact, although she didn't really admit it until after I got married.
Oh yeah, you did mention that.
And so therefore, I was determined to leave that marriage instantly.
Yeah.
But because she became pregnant 2 months later, when I was just about to leave, I ended up staying with her.
Yeah.
But I told her as soon as they know my age, which is the babies, not know my age, but know me as their father, I'll be leaving.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was flogging a dead horse there,
Yeah, cool.
If you're not in love with it, if there's no love in a marriage, there's no point.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Yeah. So you've started fresh yourself. Did you move from Crouch End?
Yes, I moved from Crouch and went over to the Docklands for a while.
Okay, nice.
Yes, it was nice. Tobacco Dock, well, that place is it's like a ghost town over the weekends, but very, lively, more lively during the week when people are working.
Of course.
And, but the thing was, is that simply there was this battle going on with crack and cocaine, and not only that, but also with alcohol, because suddenly I had to have a drink first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning, and follow it up with cocaine, or have some cocaine first and have a drink after. But that combination was there, whether it was a line or whether it was the crack pipe. And so there was this battle going on, and the thing is, I didn't want to throw in the towel. I felt like I've got 2 eyes, a brain, 2 arms and legs, I ought to be in control of this situation. You can't tell me what to do. I'm going to tell you what to do, and so on and so forth. And I see other people, like you said, functioning addicts, getting up and going to work. I've been up with professionals like that, and solicitors or lawyers or whatever, and they got up and went to the office in the morning, although they went to bed at 5 o'clock.
Of course.
They were up at 7, 8 o'clock and up to work. And I said, man, how do you do that? I couldn't do that.
No.
So that was just a constant battle, and I didn't want to throw in the towel. I just hung in there for round after round after round, for year after year after year, and just kept making all sorts of excuses to continue the habit. I heard rehab being mentioned to me. Someone said to me, oh, you ought to go to rehab, you drink too much. I said, rehab, what's that? Rehab, I thought that was for celebrities, and those people there, and so on and so forth. Someone said, oh, you ought to go to an AA meeting. You know, I said, yeah, who are they? I showed an interest. I said, what do they do? I said, people with alcohol problems, they help them to come off. And I said, well, where can I find a meeting then? But they couldn't tell me where to find a meeting. So these things were just like fleeting moments where I knew I was on the wrong track, and there were agencies out there that could help me to get on the right track. But to follow through, that wasn't happening at the time.
Wasn't ready, You have to be ready yourself.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. So, okay, so you've been from like 35 to 40 in the Docklands, just pretty much living by yourself. Did you start taking it more when you were living by yourself? Or less?
Well, no, I was living there with a woman actually, and she was a coke freak, to be honest with you. And she took it, and but for some reason I really enjoyed her company. She had her own money, and so on and so forth. And but I didn't stay in the Docklands too long, because I think from there me and the lady split up. She moved and this and that, and I basically went to my grandma's for a while, and I thought, well, I'll just kind of get out the scene, get out of the way, and went and stayed by my grandma for a while, and but the habit still continued, because there you go once again. You think, well, if I change my location, if I'm not around that circle and so on, I'll definitely be able to stop now and have it under control. But the habit continued. I'd find myself leaving my grandma's in Edgware, around Edgware, Collindale area, and going into, Hackney or Brixton or wherever, to get some crack and so on. Get some coke or whatever and stuff like that. So the battle just continued, and it was like I was suffering in silence, and no one really knew what I was going through. My grandma says, oh, you drink too much, cut it down, why don't you cut it down, and so on and so forth. And I didn't disagree with her. You know what I'm saying? Because back in those days, if I was drinking Guinness and, for example, and in a pub and so on, I got to understand that I used to drink like 24 pints of Guinness, and then when you leave the pub now, the drinking continues, if I was drinking a bottle of cognac, it came to the stage where, I'd hold the bottle to my lips, and I wouldn't gulped it down until it was round about the halfway mark before I came off the bottle, and then I'd put the bottle down and then go and hit the crack pipe or have a few lines and so on and so forth. It was horrendous, really, drinking like that, half a bottle in just one. What I mean? In about 20 seconds, Go. All right, then you can make it 30 seconds if you like, but it didn't come off, and it was crazy, and I, in my head, thought, well, yes, drinking that much, getting that much level of alcohol in there before you start on the pipe and all that sort of gives you a smooth ride, this cocktail, but I was just slowly committing suicide.
Wow. So you feel like the alcohol made it worse as well?
The alcohol is in fact the worst drug of all. People look on it like as though it's a soft drug or something. Alcohol is a Class A drug, brother. And alcohol, actually, I learned that from rehab, that alcohol attacks every organ in the body. There's nowhere in the body that it doesn't attack. It goes everywhere. Whereas cocaine and heroin, those things, they just target certain areas, but alcohol, it just goes everywhere.
Yeah.
I've met people who's recovered from wet brain, from alcohol. But once it gets in your brain, brother, most people stop walking and can't, and their speech goes, and that sort of thing. Yes, it's really surprised me that alcohol was worse, than cocaine and crack, because of also the fact that it's legal, sort of minimize the any guilt around it or any shame around it. Well, it's in every corner. Then you've got thousands and thousands of pubs in London. These places are glorified drinking. Drinking dens.
That's so true.
Good decor. She's slicked up and you go in there and have a drink, end up staggering out like that, trying to get in the taxi or whatever, or wobbling up the road and start barking at people.
Don't look as good as you came in.
Yeah, man, I remember drinking in the pub in right by Hampstead Heath, then opposite Hampstead, the Magdala pub. That's right. That's where Ruth Ellis shot her lover, and she was the last woman to be hanged. And,
wow.
Yes, and you can still see the bullet hole on the outside wall of the pub, and I used to drink in there for a while, and I remember when I was drinking Guinness, and the lady who ran the place at the time, she gave me a double Jameson's. With every pint of Guinness I ordered, a double Jameson's came with it, she likes me, okay. And and I remember at one point suddenly I was looking at her and I could see three heads, you know what I mean? Then I looked around talking to a brother to my left or to my right, I see three heads again. I said, my goodness me, the drink doing this? Yeah, drink caused me to hallucinate.
Wow.
Yeah, drink, that was a learning curve for me about alcohol. Yeah, so, but I just found it was, with cocaine and crack, I found that it was a good marriage, it was, it was like the best of a bad situation, you could say. Trying to be more manageable like that. Kept it balanced, kept me going. Of course, the danger was that the more coke I took, and or more crack I smoked, is the more I drank. So we found that with cocaine and crack, I can drink for days without going to sleep, without getting tired, And I thought, well, that is a plus. That's a good thing. That is,
Yeah, of course.
Imagine I'm still standing after one or two bottles of vodka, or
no sleep, a couple of days. So, what would you say now? Like, so we're like from between you're like 38, 40. 38, 39, 40. And then you're living by yourself still now, or you're with another woman?
Yeah, well, during that time I had other girlfriends, I was seeing a woman in Holland Park as well, and she was a winehead, really. She drank wine profusely, She drank bottles and bottles of wine. So that kind of fitted in with my drink.
Yeah,
and I was just floating around the place, I was like a leaf in the wind, and of course, as far as the drinking was concerned, my favorite tipple was drinking champagne and cognac, and Remy Martin. That was my favorite tipples. But of course I drank Then I got to the point where I was drinking Guinness and drinking vodka and drinking whiskey. You don't know all the rest of it and blah, blah, blah. I said, I'll never drink Tennent's, you know what I mean? I'm not like those. I'm not like those, you know, like the muffins over there, those, you know, those down and out, you know, those, you know, those, I won't say the word on the camera, but you know what I'm saying? I really look down on people like that. And we all, in our circle, we look down on people like that to begin with. But then suddenly I ended up, as I wouldn't say progressed in the crack smoking and so on. You know, as I descended further, you know, there I was in a house where the house proprietor, you know what I mean, that's what he drank from morning till night. That was his cup of tea in the morning, you know, and his nightcap and all the crack smoking that went on in between.
Wow.
And so suddenly I found myself drinking Tennent's now. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you see, I could see how I broke down, you know, my principles were being gnawed away, you know, rotting away with decaying, you know. Yes, and what was causing the decay was the habit, the crack habit, you know, and the coke habit, you know, and the drink habit, you know.
So what would you say was it where the habit peaked?
The habit peaked when I was living in Putney. The habit peaked there, and I became a recluse in that flat. You know, I had had enough. You know, I'd taken knife out on people, I threatened to kill people, and I really meant it at the time in certain crack houses and all that. Just kept stealing my crack, even when you're on the pipe and they start wanting to go in your pockets and all that sort of thing. And I remember one time I had a fist full of money like that, you know what I mean? And it's a good thing I had an elastic band wrap around it, you know, and I had it there in my pocket, bulging out. And when I came off the pipe, I said, well, let me check my pocket, you know what I mean? And I pulled out a note, the first note on top, you know, like it was a 20-pound note, but it was only half of it. So someone actually went in my pocket, tried to, you know, pull out the money, but for the elastic band.
Made them tear it.
You know, they got one half and left with the other half, and they're all the rest because, you know, I mean, there's a few £1,000 there.
So you was saying that it started getting worse when you was in Putney?
Yes.
Was you by yourself in Putney?
Real bad. Yes, I was a recluse in my place, and I don't want to smoke crack with anyone. I don't want to. You know, I'll just do it by myself. I don't have to worry about my crack. I can leave it on the table, go to the loo or bathroom. When I come back, it's still there. You know what I'm saying? Then with my bottle, you know, I can leave it there. When I go walk around, if I just want to walk around and walking in that twilight zone and going through that paranoia that one did from time to time on crack and so on, looking out the window when I come back for another drink, you know, it's still there. My crack is still there. I don't need all this nonsense. You know, I didn't really like the idea of having to kill someone over my own things, and you know, and for that as well, you know, it's madness. So being on my own is the best way. But little did I realize that actually that was the illness as well, the disease of addiction, trying to isolate me, to kill me off. You know, because once you're on your own like that, you know, your drinking goes up. You know what I mean? And the coke consumption goes up because you're not sharing it with anybody and all this and that. You know, and you're not waiting for your turn for the pipe. So suddenly you can just go full blast and, you know, and all the rest of it. And the consumption goes up. You know, it doubles and triples.
Have you got something there?
Right. Okay.
Just now. Alright, so carry on. So it basically triples because you got everything to yourself.
Yeah.
You even enjoy it just being safe with you. Yeah. And being able to have the freedom of it being there, just having your own freedom. You can go over there. No one's gonna touch your stuff.
Yeah.
So you start becoming selfish. The selfish addiction is worse because now you've got more access to more.
Yes.
And taking more.
Now it's easier to overdose more, take more. You know, I'm expediting the process of death, really.
Yeah.
You know, suicide.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They say it's a slow form of suicide, but that's expedited when one is going solo like that. In isolation. Absolutely.
And where did you feel like you actually realized there was a problem yourself?
Well, I realized there was a problem when I couldn't leave the house without a drink. You know, I couldn't leave the house without a drink. And also the fact was that I had to have crack every day. You know, I had to have crack every day, and I had to go around. And even when I went out in the public, I always had a little crack pipe in my pocket, so I could sneak or not even sneak into, just go into the pub toilet or a restaurant toilet or behind the bush in the park, and you know what I mean, and have a pipe and you know, have a bottle with me, you know, pocket-sized bottle, and continue drinking and so on and so forth. I had to have crack and alcohol with me at all times. In fact, I remember the feeling of fear of not having it. You know, and that fear and that anxiety was so great that I was prepared to go in the shops, which was when I was living in Putney. That's where shoplifting started. You know, I was out shoplifting nearly every day.
Is that your money ran out?
That's right, and the money ran out at Putney as well. Yeah. And so therefore now, you know, the mind says, well, you know, we know how to get money, so what we're going to do is just sober up for a couple of months, and we get some nice money within that time, and we can go back and have a party, you know, and all the rest of it. But I found I couldn't keep sober for one day, not even for an hour. I had to. It's like as though, you know, the car has a petrol gauge. Well, to me, that was like the crack gauge, the alcohol gauge, you know, where the drug gauge then, because alcohol is a drug. And I wouldn't allow that. I had to be on full all the time. You know, every time it starts going up, and top it back up. I'm not waiting for it to get halfway, you know, before we tank up. I had to have it. I had to be on full tank all the time till I went to bed, till I closed my eyes. But also there's another thing I also realized during that stage there was the fact that I hated waking up in the morning.
Wow.
You know, I didn't like waking up. I didn't look forward to another day. I realized another thing, curtains were kept drawn. You know, I didn't want to let in the sunlight and stuff like that in my life. And of course, this was a habit here where you hid. You know, you were hiding all the time. So I'm doing something wrong here. Yes, I'm killing myself. Yeah. You know, yes, this is not a social thing to be doing, you know what I mean? I can't be smoking crack and socializing. Yeah. You know, they don't mix, you know, and but I just couldn't let it go. So I realized, man, you know, you become a slave to the thing. And which is not nice, and I'm not having this. I'm going to overcome this, you know, and but then at the same time, you know, there's the other side of it. We said, well, you know, something, let's just carry on. We'll use it as research. Research, you know, let's call it my denial came up with research. Research, you know, because we're practicing telepathy, you know. When I smoke the crack and I go into that zone, into that other dimension, you know, I can call all those pretty girls I like, and tell them to come over.
Yeah.
And they're gonna appear at my door, and so on and so forth. And it's crazy, but it's true. This is what happened to me. I mean, this is how I justified my prolonged crack smoking, on that. And every time they never turned up, I said, well, they will tomorrow. They will tomorrow. And then there was another, we're going to stop now, that's it. We're not going to do this anymore, well, we're just going to have one last big binge up, and that's it. And that never happened either. We just have a big binge up and and then return to another one, and another one, So there I was lying to myself. And
so what was your turning point then?
Well, my turning point came after 17 arrests for shoplifting within the space of 4 years.
Wow.
I don't know how the amount of champagne I stole out of those places at the time, but I just used to fill up the trolley with the champagnes and the cognac and wheel them out and sell them to get money for crack and keep some for myself to drink, So I'm big shot again, I'm drinking my champagne, stolen champagne.